Our sermon passage this morning can be found in Hebrews chapter 11, verses 8 to 19. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place that would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went. Even though he did not know where he was going, by faith he made his home in the promised land, like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heir with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because he considered him faithful who had made the promise. And so from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the skies, and as countless as the sand on the seashore. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have the opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God has said to him, "It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Abraham reasoned that God could even raise the dead. And so, in a manner of speaking, he did receive Isaac back from the dead. Our speaker this morning is Pastor Vijay, pastor of Himalayan Evangelical Church, founder and president of Himalayan Graduate School of Theology. Married to Ching, blessed with two children, Loan and Sophie. Now we give the time to Reverend Vijay.
Hello. Sorry. Just won't get down. Hello. Good morning. Praise the Lord. It is truly an honor and privilege to be with you this morning. And I praise God for this wonderful opportunity that we can come together and worship the Lord together and serve you with the word, what the Lord has laid in my heart. Dr. Neil calls me president, so I'm accompanied by the First Lady here, my wife and my two children, Johan and Sophia, and Pauline is almost like our adopted daughter. So blessed to have her together with us today also and with us in our family. I would like to grab this opportunity to extend my gratitude to Elder Dexter and leadership in this church for your gracious invitation to come here and share with you God's word, but also have this wonderful time of fellowship with you. So we are so blessed, and worship was amazing, and I appreciate Sister Eileen leading the worship service today, and it was such a wonderful time worshiping the Lord together. But also, I would like to thank my very dear friend, Dr. Neil, for recommending me here, and thank you for your faith and your confidence in me. The topic I've chosen to share with you this morning is a promise-driven faith. A promise-driven faith. Bible says, without faith, the sun? Yeah, I think it should be working now. Okay, good, thank you. Without faith, we cannot please God, according to Hebrews 11:6. Without faith, we cannot be even saved, according to Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. Without faith, we cannot be considered righteous in the eyes of God. Romans 4:3, Galatians 3:6, and James 2:23. We cannot even experience God's full blessing if we do not have faith in God. Yet, faith is something we all struggle every now and then, don't we? When things are going well, it's easy for us to say, oh God, you're faithful, you're in control. I believe you're loving God, you're caring God. But when things don't go the way how we expect, we desire, sometimes we doubt if God is really faithful, if God is really caring God. Now, why do I have to go through such things in my life? I have believed in God for so many years. Why things are not the way how I expected? We begin to doubt God's faithfulness, His love, and His kindness. There are even times we doubt His very existence. Does God really exist? If He does, why so many injustices in the world? Why so many sufferings? Why so many chaotic things happening in the world today? We even doubt God's very own existence. I'd like to share with you about a man in England whose name was Jean-Francois Gravelet. His nickname was Blondin. His hair was white, that's why he was called Blondin. And he was known as a tightrope walker. And because of his previous record, people believe in him when he announced that he's going to walk on top of the Niagara Fall. And he was even saying that he will try to walk without any safety equipment on top of the Niagara Fall, 1,000 feet high. It's pretty far. So people are very excited, and so many newspaper, even it was the headlines of that news. Even there was a newspaper mentioned that we should not allow him to do that. If something happened, it's a shame. It's shameful for our country. But because of his previous record, so he was allowed. He went ahead. Before he started walking in a tightrope, he asked the people, "Do you believe I can do this?" So people really cheer, and they said, "You can do it." Because of his previous record, they think that it's not impossible for him. So sure enough, he walked back and forth without any safety equipment. It was said that he was blindfolded, and he even walked, on top of the rope, back and forth. So he had a wheelbarrow, and he told people, "Do you think I can even carry this wheelbarrow and cross?" "Yeah, you can do it." So people cheer, they were applauding. So he crossed. Even there was a time, it was said that he cooked egg in between, and ate while he was carrying a wheelbarrow. So at the end, he asked, "Do you believe I can put someone in this wheelbarrow and I can still cross?" And they said, "Yes, you can do it, no doubt, you can do it." So he said, "I need one volunteer to come and sit." Now you know what happened. It was a pin drop silent. No one there to come and sit in that wheelbarrow. Many times, that's how we find ourselves in our walk with the Lord. When things are going well, it's very easy for us to say, "Lord, I believe you're caring God, you're loving God, you're almighty, you're sovereign." When things don't go the way how we expect, then we begin to doubt, is God really loving God? Is God really a caring God? God is really faithful to fulfill the promise that He made in my life or in the scripture. We doubt His promise as well. So the passage which has been read a while ago, there are 4 things I would like to share with you. By the way, this was a text assigned to me by Pastor Neil a long time ago. It was, I think, 26 years ago when he asked me to preach in the fellowship he was leading. And this was a passage he led me. He asked me to preach. I'm so thankful because from then on, the life of Abraham has been a great, great blessing in my personal walk with the Lord, in my faith in the Lord. So from this passage, I'd like to share with you 4 things. There are 4 traits of promise-driven faith, promise-driven person. So when you look at verses 8 to 10, we see Abraham believed God even when he did not know where. We just read a while ago that he was told to leave his place, but he was never told where to go. He still believed and he left. A promise-driven person believed God even when he does not know where. Verses 11 to 12, he was told that he will have children at an old age. And the Bible says he still believed God even he did not know how it is possible, at that age. Because God said he believed. Verses 13 to 16, He died without seeing the promise being fulfilled. Yet, he's still clinging to his faith in God. He believed in God without knowing when. And the fourth thing we see, the climax of his test we see in verses 7 to 19, when he was asked to sacrifice his own son. God already told him that he's going to make a generations like the stars of heaven and the sand of the seashore. Now God is telling to sacrifice his own son. It doesn't make sense. He already told me that you're going to make a descendant through this son. But now you're asking me to sacrifice this son. He did not doubt. He did not question God. Why? He simply followed because God said so. The fourth thing we see, he believed in God without knowing why. A promise-driven person believes God even when they don't know where. A promise-driven person believes God even when he does not know how. A promise-driven person believes God even when he does not know when he does not know even why. So these are the four things I would like to share with you this morning. And the first thing we see here in the verses 8 to 10 here. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went. Without knowing where he was going, he left. It was told that his place, Ur, was it was a developed country compared with other countries surrounding there. So God even didn't tell him where to go, but he went, by faith. It was told in the Bible that when he went, he was living there as alien, as a foreigner. And not only that, he was living in the tent rest of his life. Living as an alien in a foreign country is not easy. You ask Pastor Neil, how he felt his life in America. No matter how developed the country is, the family, it's very difficult living your own country, your own culture, the people that, you're so used to it, the weather, you're so used to it. And living like an alien is not a matter of joke. Compared with my country, Nepal, Philippines is well developed. And after we moved back here, after the pandemic, this is the first time that I've been staying here 9 months straight. I normally travel back and forth and other places. And so this time, many times I told myself, my family, my kids have no idea what I had to go through just to be here with them. The country is so well developed, everything is here, but you still miss your people, your culture, the climate. Kathmandu is one of the best weather in the world. It's so hot during the summer, it's so suffocating. And when we moved to Cavite, I don't know anybody, something happened. It's so difficult to depend on people. Our internet broke one time. It took 1 month to fix. Our car got hit by the truck. It took 7 months to fix, In Nepal, my internet broke and I called while I was having breakfast. By the time I finished, somebody came and fixed already. I got hit by the boss one time, my vehicle, and the front part was badly, damaged. The following day I brought in 1 day, within 2,000 peso, everything was fixed. It's like brand new. Here we spent almost like 3,000 just to fix the bumper hit by the truck, But, thank God it was covered by the insurance. If you have a people, it may not take that long. But, not knowing who to contact, where to go, it's not really easy living like alien. And Abraham, leaving the place of his comfort, the culture, the country, the people that he loved, and going to the place he was not even told where to go. He simply followed God, and he said yes, and he lived. And secondly, it is said there that he was living in the tent, Imagine, if you're going for camp and living in the tent for a few days, it might be very fun. So there was a time we all family went to camp, in Philippines, wonderful, nice resort, beautiful view, and we were living in the tent over the night. The following morning, I met my son, and he was telling me, Dad, I would never go back and live in the tent again. Truly, it's so inconvenient. The light is not there, the bed is not that soft, and the cover is not that thick enough, and the people disturb here and there. Imagine living in the tent rest of your life. He had a choice, he could go back. Later on we'll see he refused to go back. He chose to live in the place God promised, and he went there without knowing where. There are times when we believe in God, when we follow God's direction, We don't know where it leads to. Like, we even don't know where our loved ones might forsake us. In a country like in Nepal, the moment you declare you're a Christian, everywhere you go, they will give you trouble. Especially if you want to get things done in the government, they see in your ID you're Christian, they will try hard to harass you, to give you a hard time. Even in the airport, the moment they see. This time I was rejected visa 3-4 times. I was scheduled to go to Japan. My visa was rejected because I was there. I was planning to go there in a Christian conference. I was denied to go to Hong Kong. There was a big event taking place, and all over, the Nepalese from all over, they're gathering together, almost like thousands, and I was one of the main speakers there. My visa was denied because I was, there as a speaker, Christian speaker. But also, one time I was returning from Korea, and I had to pass by China. So I had on the way, there was no problem. I had a transit visa, so they approved. I went, preached, spoke, and I came back. My visa was denied there. So I was told, you cannot leave within this boundary. You have to stay here. No, I'm hungry. I want to go and grab some food. No, you cannot go. I want to grab get my luggage at least. No, you can't go. I was treated like criminals. I don't know why. I was so surprised. Can you please explain why? Travel agency told me that my visa will be fine, and then on the way going, you see the stamp here. I was stamped, no problem. But why there is a big such a problem? And they told me, we don't need to explain you. Your visa is denied. You have to go. So I have to pay another $700 additional to rebook my flight, and then come. And it took so many days, only because I mentioned there, what is your profession? I'm a pastor. Because when believing in God, you don't know where it leads to. Or even when you say, yes to serving God, we don't know where it leads to. In my personal life also at this age, I really don't know where I'm going to be settled. Last 4 years, if I can stay 1 month in one place, that'll be a big luxury for me. Because constantly, even in Philippines, I don't get to stay in one place, keep moving back and forth, some places here and there. In Nepal, traveling all the time, you don't know where you end up staying. And sometimes, you want to complain, God, at this age, it's been almost like 30 years I've been serving. You should tell me where will my life will be, my retirement, where will I settle? I don't know, even my kids will go back to Nepal or not. My wife, she kept telling me, it's been 20 years I was in Nepal in my prime life. I'm not really sure whether I'll go back again. It's difficult. But the life of Abraham had been so much a blessing to me, encouragement, that every time I look at him, even in times when he had to live like aliens, he was a wealthy man by the time when he left. Even when he was leaving the tent, the weather was so different. In Israel, if you have traveled there, they have a high mountain, extremely cold, and they have a coastal plain. It's so hot, it's windy, it's stormy all the time. From New Testament, if you haven't been there, at least from New Testament, so many storms taking place there. And living in the tent in a situation like that. But you never see in the Bible him complaining, God, where? Why is it that I have to live in a place like this? He simply believed God and left not knowing where. Not only that, but now we see in verses 11 to 12, it talks about Sarah there. But also in the Old Testament, if you read there, it's about Abraham's faith. Verses 11, by faith Sarah, even though she was barren and beyond the proper age, was enabled to conceive a child, because she considered him faithful who had promised. And so from one man, and he was as good as dead, came descendant as numerous as the stars in the sky, countless as the sand on the seashore. Abraham believed God even when he did not know how. There are things mentioned here. He was already about 100 years old. Sarah was 90. And she was barren. It talks about Sarah here, but in the Old Testament, in Genesis 17, we know it was Abraham also who believed that. Sarah, she laughed. Genesis 21, because Abraham believed, God blessed him with a child. He was already beyond the proper age. But also it is mentioned here that a man as good as dead. Physically, biologically, there's no way they could have any children, at that time. But because God said, they believe in God, and God blessed him with a wonderful son. And not only God blessed him, God is blessing until now from the life of Abraham, just because he believed in God. He clung unto God's promise. Abraham believed God even when he did not know how. When we commit ourselves to God, we believe in God, sometimes we don't know how am I going to survive. We might go through lots of rejection from our loved ones. If we commit ourselves to serve the Lord, sometimes we don't know how am I going to feed my family. Before I became Christian, I had so many vices. And the very reason that, I was not wanting to become Christian, because in Christian you cannot drink, you cannot do that, and I was telling, how am I going to survive if I become Christian? I'm a chain smoker, I used to drink alcohol, I used to smoke marijuana. Without this, I cannot sleep. Whenever I'm happy, I need cigarette. Whenever I'm sad, I need drink, when I'm with my family, party, friends, I need drink. How am I going to survive? It was very amazing, by the time when I was about to be baptized, somebody told me, it's not with your own strength, Vijay. Depend on the promise of God, depend on the power of God. And from then on, I never had to go back and regret that, I became Christian. So before I became a full-time minister, I was a dealer of the San Miguel beer in Nepal. The San Miguel beer is very famous here. So that was my job. I used to make people drunk. To make my living, I need to tell that you have to drink. And so when God called me, country like Nepal, how am I surviving? How will I feed my family? It's been almost more than, it was 1998, so it's about 27 years. I never have to look back and regret that I am a full-time minister. God was so faithful. So many miracles happened. When God called me to marry my wife, I was so nervous because we're so different. Filipino culture, Nepali culture is so different, and personality-wise, we're just the opposite. It's not that she is bad. I'm not even bad, bad husband. But we're just so different. The fourth day, we had a severe conflict, after I got married. And she told me, had I known you were like that, I would not have married you. And the fourth day of our marriage, we had an issue about fixing the things, and I told, in Nepal, the guys don't wash the dish, the guys don't wash the laundry, It's your job to do that. Had I known you were like that, I would not have married you. What? Fourth day of marriage, the nightmare started. From then on, it's been almost 28 years, more than 28 years we have been married. It's not that our marriage was easy, but I would say, it was there. God was there in it every time. When she left in the first year to Philippines with a one-way ticket, there was a big talk in the church that he will not come back again. It was a big mistake, Vijay. She's not going to come back. Nepal is so difficult. The weather is difficult. The food is difficult. And to stay in the country, Christianity is hated so badly. Everywhere you go, if you say Christian, you're not treated well. How do you live and survive in a place like that? So many things in life, not only with our marriage, ministry, in the ministry also, that our conviction is that, we don't write support letter to the people. It's not that we are more righteous than others. It's just that our conviction, when God guides, He provides. So we live by that faith. And after I finished my study, my Korean supporter, I'm the one who sent me to study in Philippines, told me that, don't worry about any support, just come back. And when we went back, when he declared the salary, we couldn't believe. My salary was 3,000 peso, and my wife's salary was below 1,000 peso. Imagine, 4,000 peso, how will you survive? The nightmare started. Then again, we received a letter from one of our professors, the Chinese professor. He never taught us. The only one time we met him was he was offering a ride for us to go to, the place where we were going. And all of a sudden we received a letter and he said, Vijay, we would like to support you. And how much is your budget? We said it's about 200 something or $200. I think it was $250. He immediately approved, and he was supporting us faithfully, even in times there was lots of economic crisis. The Lord has been so faithful. After we came here in the Philippines, when I was told my monthly, the allowance for study, it was also another nightmare. There's no way we can survive. My son was burned during the winter time. It was so cold, the weather is so hot. We needed AC so badly. Electricity is so expensive here. And the money they offer was about 7,000 peso. The electricity bill is about 5,000 peso every month if you use, AC. I had no idea how did I survive, but I could say that God has been so faithful. After we got married, even we were told that we will not be able to have children. 5 years we kept praying and praying and praying. There was a pastor from South India came and he prayed for us. Next year when I come back, God will bless you with a child, with a son. I was kind of secessionist because that's the way how my professor influenced me, Next year, sure enough, the Lord, blessed us with a child, the son. It's amazing, for 5 years. In Nepal, the country was declared as a secular state. And so the national television, they opened one slot to be used by Christians every week. So we're praying because in the city, you don't go to door for evangelism. If you knock in the door, either you meet a dog or you meet a helper. You will never get entertained. So there is no way we can go and share gospel house to house. We're praying, and then we knew that God is really telling us to start this television ministry now. It's just open now. So when I went to inquire to our Christian media, so he told me that it will cost about $50,000 per year to run Christian, channel in a television. And we didn't have even $1,000 in our hand. How could that be possible? We kept praying and praying and praying. So when I was in Dallas, together, Dr. Neil also happened to be there at the same time. We were there for 3 weeks of training, GPA, Global Proclamation Academy. I was asked to go and share in one church. Then I went there to share, and one guy just shook hand. Actually, when I went, I even didn't have the money to pay for half of my flight fare because we were required to pay our half flight fare. But my wife kept telling, use our food allowance. Don't worry, God will provide. But deep within her heart, she knew that God will open the door for us to have this television ministry. You're going to share with Karmacharya, and he will believe that. He will help you. So the first day I met him, I told, Ramesh, I want to start this television ministry in Nepal. The Lord has opened. I couldn't believe that. Before, we were so badly persecuted. But now the country is declared as a secular state. Now they are allocating one slot for Christians to be used to preach. I want to use that one. So he just said, it's a great idea, Vijay, but nothing progress from there on. Then one weekend I went to speak in one church, and the guy just shook hand, and there was an envelope there. When I checked, that was $1,000. That just covered my half the flight fare. One day I was told by somebody that somebody is coming to adopt Nepali child. He heard the news that the child was thrown in the toilet by somebody, abandoned there, and he felt sorry. He wanted to adopt. Please go and help. So when I went, Ching and I went to meet that guy. It was the same guy who gave me $1,000 there. But when I saw, I was shocked that, he was paralyzed from halfway down there. He could barely walk there. So seeing his condition, I was very shocked. Then as we were having breakfast together, he told me, I've been here for a few days. I never saw any Christian channel here, Vijay. You used to be the one to preach in the television. Then I said, we have been praying about that. We just had a breakfast meeting with our leadership, and that's what we discussed about that also. We really need to use this one. So he came on Saturday. Saturday is a worship day in Nepal. And he gave $1,000 as a seed money. So use this, Vijay. But I need $50,000 per year to run this television ministry. I even don't have any single client. We kept praying and praying. The time came, we have to bid. We prayed, we put the bid. We won in both places, in national television, but also in the private channel. But we don't have money. All of a sudden, this guy sent me a letter, said he will give $50,000. In times when he was told he may not survive more than 5-6 months because of the disease that he had, the disease he caught. Later on, we came to know that he sent all his retirement money. He's still alive now. It's been more than 13, 14 years, and that's how the Lord opened the door for us to use television. And that message in the television is being used in many churches, not only in Nepal, most of the churches in other countries as well, as a main resource for teaching and preaching ministry. So everywhere I travel, not only among the Christians, but also non-Christian know me. It's a thrill, at the same time it's a threat, because you never know, how you might be treated. So I had to be very careful not to appear in the public places, but by God's grace, it's just amazing. Not only for 1 year, we ran that ministry for 6 years. When we say yes to God, many times we don't understand how. How am I going to support, Lord? You said go and preach in television. There's no way, with my resources, preaching in television is just so different, I tell you. It's not just, standing here and say whatever you like. You have to be so careful. The sound has to be perfect. The light has to be perfect. The background has to be perfect. We didn't have a soundproof room, and you see the, dog barking at the outside. You see the aeroplane flying on top, then caught. You have to start from all over again. Just to record one sermon, 3,000 watts of lights, right in front of my, I was so sweaty. It was summer. Sweating so badly. I was so exhausted, repeating. By one sermon, I said, there's no way, Lord, I can continue this ministry. It's just so hard. It's not, just standing here and preach. Everything has to be perfect. The sound, the voice, the pronunciation, they check everything because it has to be, broadcasted in the national television. If something goes wrong, you cannot be careless. So I barely survived one sermon, and the producer told me, you have to also record a second one, third one, because you know how much it costs, how many crews are there, the equipments, you have to go and record. So I was already complaining, Lord, there's no way I can continue. I didn't realize how tough it is. I don't want to continue this ministry. It's just so hard. Grudgingly, I went. Then there was a cameraman, and he was not even a Christian. He had the Hindu sign in his forehead. And he asked me, where did you preached from the one you just preached a while ago. Then I said, it's from the Bible. Didn't you see? I was preaching from the Sermon on the Mount, how practical it is, and then he said, I never knew Bible is that practical. Can you give me the Bible? I want to believe. So that day, I made a promise, Lord, even one soul gets saved. No matter how tough it is worthwhile to persevere. And not only one, later on, every time we download in the YouTube, every day I have 10,000 viewers all over the world. People watching that never knew how God is opening the door. It started from zero. I drew that encouragement from the life of Abraham. He also believed in times it was almost like zero. His life was as good as dead. They already beyond the proper age. They were beyond the proper age to give birth. Sarah was barren already, 90. Abraham was 100. But when God said, I'm going to bless you with a child, they believed God without knowing how. When we believe in Jesus for our salvation, for baptism, for ministry, many times we may not understand how it's going to work. Our loved one might forsake us. We might even need to break up our relationship, unhealthy relationship. We don't know how God is going to support us. But I can testify today, God has been so faithful. I never have to look back and regret that I'm a full-time minister or the decision that I made, that I knew that it was from the Lord, that He has been so faithful. Thirdly, we can see from the life of Abraham here, Abraham believed God even when he did not know when. Verses 13 to 16, very interesting here. All these people died in faith, without having received the things they were promised. However, they saw them and welcomed them from far afar. And they acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. Now those who say such things so that they are seeking a country of their own, they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared a city for them. Imagine in verse 10, he was looking for the city with the foundation whose architect and builder is God Himself. Verse 16, it says that God has prepared a city for them. When he was living in the promised land, living in the tent, the only land he possessed was the land he bought to bury his wife. He was not able to see that God fulfilled the promise. But he never doubted. He never questioned. He never quarreled with God. God, isn't that you promised me? The land flowing with milk and honey? Where am I now? He never complained. And not only that, he continued to live there in the tent. If he had looked back, he had opportunity to go back. Many times in our faith, we look back. That was a temptation for me, after I became Christian. So many do's and don'ts, I still had that smoking habit, drinking habit, and pastor preached every time, you should not smoke, you should not drink, you should not do that. I never had that kind of instruction before. In the world, whatever I do, nobody cares. But now in the church, I'm so afraid that they might discipline me if they come to know, I still drink, I still smoke marijuana, so many do's and don'ts. So the tendency is always to look back. It was better before I became Christian. I better go back and live a wild life. Why bother? Believe in God, even in times you don't understand when things will get better. So there was a time the missionary, you might know him, Henry Morrison. They were in Africa as a missionary for 40 years. And so back then, Africa was so difficult place to live. Many people, they died with malaria. And not only that, the people were so hostile to Christianity. And when they left for mission field, they knew they may not be able to go back anymore. So 40 years being in a mission field, and they decided to come back home, America. On the way back in the ship, the president, the Roosevelt, I think, was also there. He was returning from 1 month of hunting in Africa. So this missionary couple, they thought there will be lots of people welcoming them. Teddy Roosevelt actually was in that ship, and so they thought there will be lots of people welcoming them because it's been 40 years they have been away from the home, and they thought there will be lots of relatives, and the church member, the leaders, they will come and welcome them. As the sea was approaching toward the New York port, they looked there, and sure enough, so many people, they were saying welcome home, and they were a band, playing music, and people with flowers. So they thought that they were there to welcome them. So by the time the president left, nobody was there. So the Henry was so discouraged. He went to the hotel and he kept telling his wife, I do not understand, honey. 40 years. So many times we almost died with malaria. So many times we almost got killed by the people there. We risked our life. We were there for 40 years. We came home. Now, nobody's there to welcome us. Not even one person. Something is wrong. He was so down. He was so discouraged. The wife left for a while. And when she came back, she told Henry, the Lord spoke to me. What? Henry, you forgot something. What did I forget? You forgot you're not home yet. Many times we think this world is our home. We put all our energies, our resources to build our own empire, thinking that this is where I belong, this is where I will live. We act as if we will live in this world for eternity. We seldom think we're not home yet. We're simply alien, strangers like Abraham. Our real home is up there. That's why Jesus promised in John 14, I'm going to prepare a place for you. If I'm going, I'm coming to receive you. If it were not so, I would have told you. When Jesus was talking about the place he's preparing, he was talking not only from his intellectual knowledge, he was talking from his personal knowledge, because he was the one who created the heaven, according to Colossians 1:15. He's the firstborn. By him, for him, through him, all things are created. So he's the creator of heaven. When he's talking about heaven, he's talking not only from his intellectual knowledge, he's talking from his personal knowledge. That's why he told, if it were not so, I would have told you. It is true. Take heart, not be discouraged. I'm going to prepare a place, not only a place, a mansion for you. And that's what he was looking for. If he had opportunity, he should have gone back. If he looked back, he should have gone back. But he did not look back. He moved forward, knowing that God will fulfill that promise someday. And he's looking for the place, not built by people, but he says in verse 10 here, built by God himself, whose architect and builder is God himself. Now in verse 16, the Bible says, God prepared Not only the house, the mansion, a city for Abraham. Abraham believed God even when he did not know when God is going to fulfill his promise. A promise-driven person believes God even when he does not understand when. We don't know when our marriage will improve. We don't know when our financial condition get better. We don't know when our family condition will get better, our living condition will get better following God. It may not even get better. We are only aliens in this world. This is just a temporary. Compare with the life up there. If you are to draw the line, how long will you draw the line of this world? Your life will be this long, that long. Compare with the life up there. You know. And compare with the life here, how long will be the life in eternity if you were to draw the line? It is so long, right, the life in eternity. But why is it that we put all our energies, our resources, our effort for this life? This is not even this long compared with the life up there. We are aliens here. We need to be constantly reminded. We should look for the city built by God himself. And that's what God prepared. Not only the room, the house, God prepared a city for Abraham. It's amazing. And fourthly, Abraham's greatest test came when God asked him to offer his son Isaac. Verses 17 to 19. By faith, Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac on the altar. He who had received the promises was ready to offer his one and only son. Even though God has said to him, that through Isaac, your offspring will be reckoned. Abraham reasoned that God could raise the dead. And in a sense, he did receive Isaac from the dead. Imagine, in old age, that's the only child he had. The other one was from the mistress. It wasn't a promised child. But, this is the child that God promised through him. He's going to make a generations like the stars in heaven, like the sand in the seashore. But God is telling to go and sacrifice, Intellectually, it is so nonsense. It doesn't make sense. God, didn't you just tell me that you're going to bless me with the descendants like the stars in heaven, like the sand in the seashore, but now you're asking me to go and sacrifice this son. You don't know how much I love this child in his old age, how much I depend on this child, not only for my strength, my future, but also he's the one who will inherit everything what you have given to me. Now you ask me to go and kill by my own hand, and not only killing, but also it's a burnt offering. You have to burn everything, nothing will be left there. What kind of command is that? What kind of God is that who will ask your own son to be sacrificed by your own hand and burn it completely? Intellectually, doesn't make sense for him. When I look at Genesis chapter 22, he did not delay even one day. Early in the morning, he rose. He prepared everything. He went and he was there to kill his own son. God intervened. God provided another lamb there. But you know what? God spared Abraham's son, but he did not spare his own son. That's for you and for I. That's the kind of God that we serve. If he did not spare his own son, what will he spare for you and for I? He knows what is best for us. He knows what is good for us. Abraham knew that. Even if the child is dead, he said he had to believe that God is able to raise that son. And he will do so if needed. If he does not do that, so be it. But I'm ready to follow God's command. Even when I don't understand why. When we follow God, things happen in our life. Many times we don't understand why. As I told you, at this age, it's so difficult for me to comprehend that I don't know where will I end up someday. Because I'm never in one place for a longer time. Sometimes I'm here. I go back to Nepal in September. Then 1 week I'm together with Dr. Neil going somewhere. And 2 weeks I'm going to a very remote place for pastoral training. In 1 week I'm traveling to India again for a conference. Then I'm coming back again to lunch to go to another city for the new Bible college courses there. Life is so unstable. You never know where will you sleep, what will you eat, where will you go. And sometimes it's very hard, not having a place to call your own, and living always in the place where you don't know what kind of place you end up, But I tell you, it is so rewarding to be able to follow God, to say yes. Not that I have been always faithful following God, but those days that I knew I was following, even I don't understand why, I do not regret, because I never imagined the way how God blesses today, in every way, in the family, in ministry, in every way. God is faithful, even when his closest person was asked to sacrifice, Abraham was ready. He did not delay, he did not complain. So in conclusion, faith is more than belief, it's action. It's trust in motion. It's choosing to follow even when you don't have all the answers. Many times we don't understand where, when, how, when. A promise-driven person believes God even when he does not understand where, how, when, and why. Remember a story I told you a while ago when Blondin was crossing from the tightrope above the Niagara Fall. He asked people to come and sit in the wheelbarrow. There was nobody to come and sit. But a story told that his grandmother happened to be there. And his grandmother volunteered herself. And she told Blondin, they believe only here, but I believe here. Put me there. Show the world. You can do it. And sure enough, Blondin put his grandmother in that wheelbarrow, and he crossed back and forth. The hero of that story is not even Blondin. It was a grandmother. Her faith was not only intellectual, it was personal. He was not only convinced intellectually, she was convicted in her heart, and she was committed to risk her life, knowing that her grandson can do it. My brothers and sisters, today, if Jesus were the one asking you to come and sit in that wheelbarrow, will you go and sit? Not knowing where, when, how, and why. Are you still questioning God? God, I don't know where. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know why. Remember, without faith, we cannot please God. Without faith, we cannot be saved. Without faith, we cannot be considered righteous in the eyes of God. And without faith, we cannot experience God's blessing. Faith is the vital part of a believer. From the day you believe in Jesus until the day you see him. It is my prayer and hope that you draw your encouragement, your comfort from the life of Abraham, even when things are happening the way you expected, the way you desire. Believe in God. He is faithful to fulfill his promise. Regardless of how we feel today, he will never change his promise. Let me pray for us. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful time again, and we are grateful for the life of Abraham. That all that you did in his life and through his life, now you summarize that in Hebrews chapter 11, verses 8 to 19. How he was faithful, not knowing where to go, he followed you, Lord. Not knowing how it is possible to have child, and at old age, he still believed in you. Not knowing when the promise is going to be fulfilled, he did not doubt. And when that climax of his test came, when he told him to sacrifice his own son, he did not even delay one day. He did not even complain. Lord, don't you know how much I love this child? How dear, how close to me. And why is it that I have to kill this child with my own hand and offer you as the burnt sacrifice? He never complained. Lord, thank you for his faith, and I wonder why today. He died long ago, but until now, the blessings continue. Not only he was blessed, but our blessing continues throughout the generations from his life. Because you are faithful, God. In times we don't understand, but your word says, he who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it in it. You are faithful, Lord. Sometimes the journey gets so tough, we don't know, we struggle. Lord, why is it that I have to go through this? In these kinds of situations, in these kinds of circumstances. But we cling into the promise, Lord, again. As you have promised, you are faithful to bring it to the completion. Thank you, Lord, for our time together, and thank you for the life of Abraham. And thank you for all of my brothers and sisters here. I don't know where they are today in their walk, in their faith with the Lord, with you, Lord. But I pray, as your disciples have asked you, Lord, increase my faith. Lord, I pray for all of us, increase our faith, that no matter what, we don't understand rationally, intellectually, but help us that we stay faithful to the end. And so that not only our life will be blessed, our life will be blessing for many generations to come. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.